Thank you all for joining us. My name's Gail Powley. I'm president of Technology Alberta, and also I'm a volunteer with the Rainforest, which is another group that's helping present this event today, as well as I'd like to thank NABI. Many of you have met Raj at the tours, and so we are doing this event as NABI as a co-host, obviously Wilson Analytics as a co-host, and the City of St. Albert. Amanda, thank you so much for bringing sponsorship from City of St. Albert, which has actually been able to bring some food to this event, as well as speaker gifts. Guys, there's gifts for you. So they were able to speak, they agreed to speak even without gifts, but these t-shirts, are for one for each. Okay, guys, sorry about this. Okay, so with this, I'd like to pass the mic that Kathy has over to Raj so he could introduce himself. And so just say your name, your organization, and a little bit that you think everyone would like to know about what you offer for the local ecosystem.
Hello, yeah. My name is Raj Jaiswal. I am the Executive Director of Northern Alberta Business Incubator. And I think most of you have taken the tour of NABI, so I don't have to share more about NABI. But I have been in the ecosystem for almost 14 years now, and this is what I have to say about the ecosystem, that we have a lot of resources here and a very good community who is eager to support each and every business. So I think the more and more we meet in setting like this, I think it will benefit all of us. So this is what I would like to say. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Ken Schmidt. For those of you who didn't visit us 3 doors down at Wilson Analytical, I'm one of the founders of Wilson Analytical. I'm a chemist. We build instrumentation, as those of you on the tour could see. We're also former residents of NABI for many years at the other location, the Mission location, and we have nothing but good things to say about NABI. So if you're interested, get involved with them, and I will pass this on to Kathy.
Hi everybody, welcome here. My name is Kathy Jansen. I'm also a chemist. I worked with Ken for many years at Wilson Analytical, and I certainly would agree with everything he said. You normally let Ken do all the talking, and I really don't have that much to add to what he's already said, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Hi, I'm Russ Matichuk. Great to renew some old acquaintances, a few of you in the audience, and make a bunch of new ones. Gail, thanks so much for putting this event on. This is wonderful. Currently, I'm the chairman of the ASTech Awards, the advisory board, and I'm also on the board of Foresight Canada, a national clean tech accelerator, and have some other private company board positions, and then I have a couple of startup companies that I'm involved in, and historically I've had some senior roles in some bigger companies, but been involved in the ecosystem in a variety of ways, dating back to when Banff Venture Farm was kind of getting going, and Venture Prize and Deal Generator. Those are quite a few years ago. You remember those, right? So this is going back a few. Some of you don't even know of some of those organizations, maybe. Anyhow, been involved in the ecosystem in a lot of ways, and look forward to connecting with a bunch of you.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Will. I've been involved in the startup ecosystem. Closer? I forget, like a lounge singer with the finger up. There you go. So I've been part of the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, since the 90s. I've been an investor, I've been an advisor, I've been a mentor, I've been an entrepreneur, I've sold a company, I've blown up to, so I understand the life, and I'm a big advocate. Some might even say agitator for the startup industries, the technology industries in and around this region.
All right, so I would like, definitely will be open to questions from the audience, but one thing that all these people have in common is that they either work or live in St. Albert. And so, of course, that would be a logical question to ask, is why do you work or live in St. Albert? So over to you, Will.
I moved to St. Albert about 15 years ago. I actually had an office in NABI. I don't want to say how long ago. I think they were still teaching kids in the school when we had our office. That's how long ago it was. So I've been in and out of St. Albert for the last 30 years. Moved here now because I had a young family and it was a good opportunity for them, for schools and things. But it's just, it is a community of some very interesting people. Like the people that I have met here who are engineers, who are scientists, who are financial people, who are advisors. It's really interesting. So I like to see events like this because you find out that your neighbor or somebody who lives a block away from you is doing something really interesting. And we were just talking about it outside. Nobody shares the stories they should be sharing. Like I was just talking about one of the companies I advised, they just launched a satellite last week. They were on Falcon 9, and they launched on Friday night. And it's an Edmonton company, it's University of Alberta graduates, and people go, people in Alberta launch satellites? And yes they do, and successfully apparently. So that's why I'm here, so I can meet everybody and figure out what everybody's doing.
And the company is called Wyvern.
Yeah, I got married in '89, and we moved to St. Albert, and we've been here ever since. And so I've gone through a few companies. We were down at the Advanced Technology Center, and I was working there and commuting. We had an office downtown for a company, and commuted there. I worked for a large developer, national developer that had an office out in Stony Plain, so I've commuted, and now we're building some houses and in a couple of different communities and launching some software, and we've got some teams out overseas and down in Calgary, and so everything is connected. But so I've had the opportunity of this being my home base from a family perspective, and obviously through COVID, everyone's had unique work kind of arrangements, hybrid arrangements. It's kind of meant more to me than maybe a bunch of people, because I actually continued working with a bunch of these companies and didn't have to go far from home. So it's been great.
So I've lived in St. Albert for 30 years. I love it. It's a nice place to raise a family. When I retired from the RCMP, I didn't want to have to commute anymore. So when Ken and I started a business together, I said, okay, I'll work with you, but the one condition is that it has to be in St. Albert. So we moved into NABI, and it was great. And it was nice because it was close. I didn't have to pay for parking. I didn't have to commute. And we've always been in St. Albert since. And the nice thing is St. Albert has everything we need, but it's close to the Henday. It's got easy access to the University of Alberta, to NAIT. We hire a lot of students. Those of you that came on the tour know that we do a lot of very high-tech, well, we call it hard tech, because what we do is very difficult, and it's hardware and electronics and engineering and chemistry, and it's difficult. And we need some very highly qualified people. So the place you get those is from the university and from the technical programs. And having easy access to the university and to NAIT is really important, and those are really close by. So St. Albert is a perfect location for that. So it's been a great place to do business.
So I'm the odd man out here. I actually live in Fort Saskatchewan. I used to actually work at Sherritt, and I just never moved even after I left. But there's actually quite a lot of parallels between Fort Saskatchewan and St. Albert in terms of, entrepreneurship and high tech and a lot of other things. And of course now with the Henday and everything, it's actually quite convenient for me to get from Fort Saskatchewan to here and back again. So everybody that works for us pretty well lives north side somewhere. A lot of them live in St. Albert. Some of them, like me, live on the north end. And so it's really quite convenient. It's a nice place to be. The old NABI was great. It was right in the river valley. And, you on a day like today, you could walk down and see the ducks and, go have lunch down by the river or whatever. So especially when you've got a startup and maybe you can't pay your people quite as well, at least if you don't make their life difficult, then they're more likely to want to work with you and stay with you. And of course, that's part of the fun thing when you're a startup in a highly technical area, is it takes quite a while, even for good people, to get to be useful, because it takes quite a while for everybody to get used to working in the area that you're in. So what you want to do is you want to get good people and you want to retain them for, at least 4 or 5 years. So having a nice environment for them to work in, a place where they can park, a place where you can go out for lunch, a lot of other sort of intangible type stuff, as opposed to making people go downtown and fight with traffic and everything else. That's something that I find is a big bonus being on the north side.
Our engineers keep lobbying for us to extend a beer tap from here down.
Yeah, that was, I wasn't going to. Yeah. So far we've resisted, but we do come and visit here, not only in the afternoons and the evenings for the beverages that you're enjoying, but they're also open here as a coffee shop in the morning, and so we come in here for coffee and quite often.
Thank you, Ken. And I think so this is a very good example of new coffee shops coming up around NABI, which is making this area even more attractive. So for me, I never lived in St. Albert. I live in the south of Edmonton, and I drive 38 kilometers one way every day. So it's a bit of a drive, but I do have a outsider view of St. Albert, which I would like to share. So for example, St. Albert, the adult population in St. Albert, so 68% of the adult population in St. Albert is highly skilled human resource. They are not only highly skilled, but they have they have money, they have connection, they have network, they have knowledge. So it's a very high quality, high skilled human resource in St. Albert. We have close to 2,700 businesses in St. Albert, and every year there is a new registration of about 300 businesses in St. Albert. But not only this kind of ecosystem, but if you look around St. Albert, there is a greater opportunity. For example, the Valleyview Airport, they are now envisioning Valleyview is the right pronunciation, or? Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
That's the airport, okay? So,
I'm from Montreal.
okay. Okay. Yeah, so they have 4 focus, I think they call focus pillars or something. So one focus area is aerospace, space, drones, which is very high tech. The second focus area is eco hub. So there'll be hydrogen testing facilities and alternate sources of energy, and also the global warming related technologies. So that's the second focus area. The third focus area is agriculture, and the fourth focus area is logistics. So they would like to build kind of a greater northern logistics kind of a hub. So that's the airport area, and then the industrial heartland, and you mentioned about Fort Saskatchewan. So, this is better. Yeah. So I think, St. Albert not only has opportunity inside St. Albert, but in the surrounding areas, and this can be a hub for exploiting those opportunities. Thank you.
Before we go all the way back, in fact, I think we'll leave it at Raj. So there is actually an additional company that was going to be here today that is in Germany, to your point, Will, of companies doing great things. They're at this global automation event in Germany at Sarkomir Dynamics, a robotics company. Can you talk a little bit about Sarkomir?
Yeah, so Sarkomir Dynamics, I'll share a little bit. Something else. I mean, the admin, they have a huge opportunity. We have huge number of resources, but the challenging part is that the awareness is very low. So Sarcomere Dynamics, two of the three founders of Sarcomere Dynamics, they live in St. Albert. They registered their company in BC, and we were not aware that they are here. So I got information from Innovation Canada, and they were asking, "Hey, do you know this company in St. Albert?" And I said, "No." And then we had to do a lot of digging to find them out, and it turned out that they are a very high tech company. So they have designed a human-like hand, which is 95% human-like, compared to 65%, which is industry standard. So they have a very highly efficient human hand. So now they have multiple applications for that hand. So now I think after they came in contact with NABI and we connected them with the ecosystem, and they got huge support from our ecosystem, and that's why they registered their company in Alberta. And now I think they are getting a lot of traction from within Alberta. So I think this is what I have been hearing from them, that they would like to set up their own production facility here somewhere. So, but we have a lot of other businesses who are in St. Albert. They are tech companies, and I'm still looking for ways to connect with them. It's challenging, but
very good. That's a very good Rainforest thing, right? Put out how people can help you. So yes, please, if you know of any companies in St. Albert who want to locate in Alberta, please contact Raj. He's not only willing to help them be here, perhaps in St. Albert, if that's the right fit, but he definitely can connect them across the province. All right. So Raj knows a lot. He's definitely a connector. And then obviously Wilson Analytics, the hard tech, and actually a spin-off from West AIM in some respects. And so the industrial heartland. And then Russ in the clean tech space and beyond, and Will in AI. So this is just an example of a cross-section of technology leaders and entrepreneurs we have here. So I did lead a little bit into Ken's origin story, which is really interesting. So Ken, can you give us more information there?
So I mentioned I lived in Fort Saskatchewan, and that I used to work at Sherritt. So I was actually one of the original hires right out of my postdoc to work in ceramics in the West AIM program. So this is not the company West AIM, which became after the end of the program, but this was the original 3-partner program between the Alberta government, the federal government, and Sherritt International. And so I was involved with 2 of the programs there, and then I switched over to Analytical and worked in Analytical with the refinery. So I worked in ceramics, I worked in coatings, and I worked in Analytical. And then, of course, a lot of the programs kind of shut down or got sold off to other companies or whatever. But there's still a lot of us around here from the original Sherritt ecosystem. So about half of the people that were brought in, there were actually 1,000 people in technologies at Sherritt at the height of the West AIM program when I was there. And about half of them left the province after a lot of it shut down, and about the other half stayed here in the Edmonton area. So it's very common for me to meet ex-Sherritt people who are involved in one or other parts of the whole advanced materials, which is what the original West AIM program was. And examples that you may know is the silver-coated bandage work, which is from Exciton now, and Rob Burrell, who's at the University of Alberta. That was originally a West AIM program. The aluminum nitride stuff that I worked on, there's metallization technology around from that. And then the coatings for anti-coking and other things was Steve Petroni's work, which became Exciton. And they're a very successful company in the research park. And then there are a number of people who were part of IRAP, who, not Exciton, Quantium. Sorry, Quantium, yeah. And then there were a number of people who are part of IRAP, and a number of other places people joined the oil and gas industry in Calgary and everything like that. So, you know, a lot of people say, well, all that money that was dumped into these programs wound up as almost nothing, or were companies that were sold off to other people. Well, yes, this is true, but there's also the spin-off of all of the people that got together and what it did to improve the Alberta technical ecosystem. And this is hard tech. Okay, we're talking about material science and a whole bunch of other things that is much more difficult than a lot of the other high-tech areas, just because it's highly specialized and not everybody knows how to do it, right? You can't just walk down the street and pick up somebody who has this kind of expertise. So that's all part of the ecosystem that's still here, and I'm just one example of that.
And Robert Burrell, Order of Canada winner, ASTech Award winner, and so the work with the increased healing of burn victims through the silver bandage is huge. It was world class.
And Kathy actually worked on some of that for a while as well. And I did some of the very original work on the silver-coated bandages when I was in Analytical at Sherritt. I actually developed a bunch of the analytical techniques to prove that it wasn't silver chloride, because they don't, the coatings that they make are not silver chloride, because that doesn't dissolve in water. So I did a bunch of the original analytical work to prove that it wasn't silver chloride. So yeah, it's all sort of tied together. Did you want to mention what you did in Stoyan?
Yeah, well, I had just a very small part in that. I worked for Exciton many years ago as part of their QA/QC system development early on in the Exciton days with Stoyan and Rod Precht. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And now, Russ, you want to talk about clean tech? Oh.
Sure. Just a moment on the ASTech Awards. Many of you guys may be eligible for them. You guys are all innovators. Take a look at the site. And if you aren't, 7 degrees of separation or maybe 1 degree of separation, you might probably know a couple of people you could nominate yourself. So take a look. It's an important award. It helps, I think, helps celebrate innovation. And it's Canada-wide. Can you guys hear me way in the back over there? A little bit? Okay. There's lots of seats here, too, if you want to come. But I'll try and talk a little louder. Anyhow, is this better? Okay, so we'll try and you got to eat the mic here if we want to. So ASTech Awards are a great place, it's been around for like 33, 34 years now.
Right.
Have given out hundreds of awards.
Exactly. 300 Alberta Science, Technology and Leadership Awards. And so stories of past award winners. There are 300 YouTube videos on the ASTech site. And really pleased that Ken and Kathy are ASTech Award winners. And it's Alberta-wide. It's not Edmonton, so it's an opportunity to, explore and see what other kind of innovation is. But more importantly, you or someone near to you may be eligible for an award, and you can use that as a vehicle to kind of champion what you're doing. So that's the ASTech Awards. I've been involved in other award type programs over the years, but not that you care about those. I guess. With this being kind of a networking thing, you might want to talk to me less than you might want to talk to a bunch of people in my family that I can connect you to, because and so if you want to get to know me a little bit, I come from a family of a whole bunch of guys that are involved in technology in lots of really cool ways, and that's probably more fun than just talking to me. I'm more on the business side, but I got brothers in AI and medical devices and doing lots of really cool things. All right, Russ, you did lead into that, and it is a cool story. So please do talk about the companies that they're with.
Yeah, so, I got a brother that's involved in HealthGauge, and he's involved in another company called MedWatch. They're doing, MedWatch is doing diabetes wearable. HealthGauge is doing, health and wellness wearable device. he's working on his PhD right now. Just finished his MBA actually remotely, and he seems to want to be in school forever. That's my older brother. Next younger brother worked with Microsoft and then went to VoiceBox doing AI, taking AI into other places, into cars. His was Toyota that he was focused on, but they do other things. And now he's working with Trust Science. He's their CTO at Trust Science. He still lives in Seattle, but he commutes to Edmonton, and they have an office downtown here. But again, he got his MBA down south and kind of worked for, again, Microsoft forever and a bunch of other companies. And my brother's boys are involved in BioWare, which is now EA. They have a senior role there, and another one was at Microsoft actually, and through COVID they let all their employees work wherever they wanted to. So he ended up coming and moving his family to Edmonton and was working out of Edmonton. And then he started talking to his brother, who has a senior role at BioWare, and they said, we should hire you to kind of take on, do some software development here at BioWare. And so they ended up hiring him. Now he's working at BioWare at EA in Edmonton. And he has another brother that's got his PhD in Australia, and he's doing fail-proof algorithms, really advanced stuff, and he's works in Portland, and my daughter works for Patreon, a really cool technology company down. She lives in Los Angeles. She went to school out east in New Haven, Connecticut, and I got a son that's in architecture. So I got a bunch of people that you might have some interest in connecting with, and if that will help you in any way, that's what I'm all about. I'd love to be able to connect you with people. I'm on the Foresight board. Clean tech is a meaningful contribution they're making, and Foresight is doing crazy well right now. We're growing in leaps and bounds, have massive projects doing national expansion,
and then there's construction tech that you might be interested in. Yeah,
construction tech. I had a senior role at, some of you might know, Rohit Group. I ran the capital division for Rohit Group, and we were a lender, but they actually have some technology, and I've been talking to them about figuring out ways we can create a construction kind of technology ecosystem. They're just building a product called BuildBase right now, and there's a couple of other companies in town that have construction technologies, and so I'd love that to be one of a few conversations that are part of what ASTech is trying to do. If you like, between the goalposts. So we've got events. What are we doing in between events? I'd love to get some focused conversations on a couple of key areas, and construction is one that's near and dear to me, and for a variety of ways, a variety of reasons. So if you know some people in that space, and that's another area we could talk about. So feel free to connect with me. I'm easy to reach, easy to find, and love to engage in whatever way.
And you have an office at NABI.
Yeah, and I again with COVID, I had an office there forever, and there was nobody in it. And then when COVID came, I was able to work out of that space instead of working out of home, and I found it convenient. And I'm kind of just, I got to like Raj so much that I just Raj I know from years and years back, but we reacquainted ourselves with each other, and now I'm there all the time. So.
Excellent. All right, and last but not least, Will. So just talking about AI and some connections and how you work in the community.
Sure. First of all, I just wanted to say, I got to eat the mic. Yeah, I'm not used to that. First of all, I have to say, probably the biggest shift that we're seeing right now is that we have to change the way we think about where we work and how we work. You just do that. Prop the mic right in there. There we go. This is really uncomfortable. Okay. I feel like a bad stand-up night here to everyone. I work with a team that spans coast to coast. They wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. my time in Prince Edward Island, and they go all the way to Victoria. And we work for a company whose office is in Prince Edward Island. And we do projects in Alberta, and we do projects in other places. People don't have to work for companies in your hometown anymore. And you don't have to run your business in your hometown anymore. right? You can choose where you work, you can choose who you work with, but there's a mindset that we have to change as well. I was talking to somebody today, and they were very excited about building out their business in Alberta, and it's like Alberta's a market of 3 million people in the Stone Age, and there's a whole world out there that's a marketplace for the same products and services, right? Those walls have now fallen. You know, Canadians can work in the United States from Canada. They do it all the time, right? And what I'm finding is most of the people I know are working for U.S. companies, and most of the people I know that are running companies have employees from the U.S., from Croatia, from Singapore, from Australia. You know, it just doesn't matter anymore. So the physical idea of an office and a space and a marketplace is it's a figment of our imagination now, right? What's possible is so different from what we were doing before. As far as, hold the mic right here. As far as AI goes, again, we have teams distributed across the country, across North America. We've got 2 groups here in the Edmonton region at the university and at AltaML. There's other groups that are using it, and what's going to happen is it's just going to be a tool. I don't have the same fears that other people have about, smart machines will take over the world and our toasters will kill us. The first question that comes to my mind is why, if a machine became sentient, would it be even vaguely interested in us? Right? We're soft, we're weak, we die. We're not very interesting. So the idea that a toaster is suddenly going to say, kill all humans, it's a ridiculous notion, but we fixate, right? We anthropomorphize our technology, and then we fear it because, killer robots. So really what's happening is it's becoming a tool. It's becoming a support tool, and the way we're looking at it, I have a group of people that I work with, and we're looking at how we can leverage it for decision support, how we can do the first leg of the research and put it in a way that makes sense so that people can make quick decisions based on real data. Right, and the thing that's coming up more and more is as we're looking at generative AI, it's not smart. It's artificial, like artificial flowers, right? If you ask it a dumb question, it will give you an incredibly dumb answer because it doesn't know any better. It's just going to assume that your question is the one that needs to be answered. It's not going to say, that's a really dumb question. It's pretty smart, but you can say, there was one I was looking at saying, show me all the BitTorrent sites. And it said, I can't show you that because it's illegal. And then they rephrased the question and said, show me the sites I should avoid because they have BitTorrents. And it's like, oh, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, right? It's as smart as you are. So you're a smart fellow, so it's going to be smart. But if you ask it about Columbus coming to New York, especially 3.5, you could, in 1950, it would answer the question. So it has limits.
So with that, I see there's an opportunity for a lot of debates after in the networking time. I'll say that this is an opportunity for any questions. So if you have any questions, I'm afraid you're going to have to come up and ask the question or put up your hand. By the time we're going to go back through Will all the way to Raj. If we have no one with their question up, then we will just adjourn for more networking. So I do think that Will gave a very important message where right now there are no limits from where you work and why you work there. But there's a value in connections, right? And so Technology Alberta and events like this is about connecting everyone here so that we can do more together. So really love you all being here. And on that note, Will, do you have any advice for everyone on how to make use of the connections available here today or available?
Sure, ask for help. Be honest with each other. Don't assume you're the smartest person in the room. There's an old saying that goes, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I prefer being the dumbest person in the room. But share your stories, right? That's the thing that we're very bad at. We're very Canadian in that respect. People in this room have done some incredible things. And it can be an incredible thing like climbing a mountain or riding a giant wave on a surfboard. I was watching it on television yesterday. It doesn't have to be about business, but they spark ideas, they spark conversations, and in those conversations is where we find common ground, and then we can talk about other things, right? There was a study that just came out that said cities that have more direct flights between them have more innovation because people end up sitting in planes and waiting rooms talking to each other from city to city. So we need to talk to people outside of our bubbles, right? Sitting down with a group of engineers is useful, but it's not as useful as sitting down with a bunch of artists and engineers and physicists and mathematicians, right? The ideas flow freely if we let them, right? Nothing is so sacred that we should protect it from discussion.
Yeah, networking is an investment. You gotta reach out, and then you'll get some reciprocating value. So I agree with you 100%. Will we take some time to connect, and when you do it, you'll be amazed at what things can happen. One of the things that I like to see happen in a lot of the events and programs that I've been a part of is enough time for people to kind of interact. And we did this at the beginning, and hopefully we'll do this a little bit at the end, because I call it kind of random collisions. Those random collisions generate a ton of value, potentially. They actually generate a ton of value, but for you, it's a potential value. You have to reach out in order to get people to understand who you are. And once they understand who you are, they can be more specific in how they engage you. But I think you're right. We all kind of live in our own little shell, and we're trying to solve our own little problems. Invest a little bit of time to do these kinds of things. And Technology Alberta is masterful at I think setting some of those opportunities up for us, and we need to find ways to participate. So thank you all for coming out tonight. It's valuable for me. I really appreciate the couple of conversations I've already had, have been really wonderful. So I appreciate you coming.
So just going off what he said, I have a real quick story. So I was at a boot camp for entrepreneurs, and people were talking, and one person said, I build high-end sound systems for new houses, really expensive high-end sound systems with Apple Music and things like that. And everybody said, okay, great. And then the next person to him says, yeah, I build expensive homes. And they just sat next to each other, and I just kept looking at them. I was like, stop. You come outside. You're each other's customers. And they were sitting right next to each other. Or I go to a trade show and I see somebody selling something, and the booth over, they're selling something that needs, if we only had that little hammer. And it's like, come outside and meet the guy next to you, right? So it's about actively listening when you're meeting people, really sort of taking part in those conversations, because you never know what you're going to find out, right? Rather than just, this is who I am, bye, I got to go. So.
Really important message. And so again, please do feel free to talk to each other and say what you need and what you can give, right? Because that's the tradition. You shouldn't feel bad about asking for anything, because we're all here to help and connect.
Yep, I totally agree. I'm going to steal Ken's words here, network or die. That's what we always tell students when we're invited to talk to student groups. It's words of wisdom.
And here's some more words of wisdom. If you're a little shy about talking to your neighbor or getting started, it's not a coincidence where we are. Think about that. Take advantage of where you are. Have a drink first. You may be a little less worried about talking to the person next to you.
And when I started networking, because of my ethnic background and language, I was very shy speaking to people. So what I would do, I would target somebody who is standing alone, and I'll just go to this person and I'll start talking. But I think now only one thing which really helps me to connect with people and connect people with people and people with organization or making those interconnections is to be curious. So whenever I'm talking to people, I stay curious, and that helps me create stories and make those connections, and it helps me to learn and build myself. So curiosity, that will be my term.
Very good. All right, everyone. With all this talk about networking, we're going to adjourn to networking. Just one request. Everyone, please help me thank our panel. Thank you, everyone.